Okay. Do you have your laptop with you? Do you have a camera on your laptop? Okay. Can you go on there and see if you can um, go back to the Christian for mental health or healing? Okay. Okay. We got people joining us. I'm doing everyone who's on here. I want you to know this right now. This is a dry run. We're having some technical difficulties, so please hold tight with us, and we will get started in just a minute. I'm not even seeing where you've logged in yet. Okay, okay. So you see me on the cell phone? Yeah. Okay. It's not showing me that you've logged in yet, so it must be a time lag. Give me just a second. I, yeah, there's a time lag. It's a big lag. Let's see here. It's still not showing me that you've logged into it yet, or that you've clicked on it. I mean, okay. See, Jothany's back. I have J Music, Carson, Mashonda Davis. Hey guys, give me a minute. There you are. Now it's showing me that you joined. That is a long lag. You gotta love computers. Yeah. Oh, you said it freezed up? Okay, yeah, and it's not letting me send a request for you to join in. I'm thinking it works differently on my laptop, so we may have to go back to the cell phone. Okay. Let's see. Hey, everybody, can you hear me? Pastor Jackson, how you doing? I need your help, man. Let me know if you can hear me. Um, I need you guys to let me know if you can hear me. I'm using a different method now. I'm using my laptop instead of my cell phone. Uh, I don't think there's a microphone on this thing. I may have to do it differently. Can you text Kevin? And ask him if he can hear me. Because he's on here. I'm getting likes, but no one's saying anything. I don't know if they can hear me. Okay. She said yes, we can hear. All right, all right. Great. Okay, Kevin says, "Yep, I can hear you." All right. Okay, we had to do something a little different. We had to do it a little differently because the cell phone just wasn't working for her. So please, 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 I don't know. Please, please, please be patient with us. We're going to go ahead and get started. All right, all right. So I have with me, and we're going to have to put her. I put her on speaker, so hopefully you'll be able to hear her. Laurie Endicott Thomas, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being a part.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm
thrilled to talk to people about this subject.
I've been wanting to talk to you about this actually for a while. I believe I first found out about you on Twitter. Found out about your book on Twitter, and I thought, first of all, I thought it was a very cool name. Don't feed the narcissist. I thought that was really neat. But what I'd like you to do is just tell everybody about yourself. Just if you could at this time, just tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, okay. Well, I have worked as an editor in medical and academic publishing for about 30 years. So I've edited textbooks for a living on all sorts of different subjects, including I've worked for a publisher that published psychiatry journals. I've worked for a lot of medical and veterinary publications. And I've also worked with shelter dogs. And I think I learned more about narcissism from watching shelter dogs interact
Really?
than from just about anything else, because it's all about dominance. They're so clear about communicating their dominance messages.
Okay.
Human beings they don't necessarily understand what's going on with the dominance message. Men tend to understand it better than women do, actually, because when little girls play, they tend to be more interested in being equal with each other, whereas boys are always jockeying for dominance in some of the kinds of the games they play.
That's true.
So I think boys are a little bit more aware of this kind of thing. So, I mean, sometimes to a comical degree, because back in the days before we had GPS and so forth, a lot of men would not stop and ask for directions, even though they were clearly lost. And I thought this was insane. I would be out with male friends, and they'd be driving, and then they'd be lost, and then they'd, well, why don't we stop and ask for directions? They wouldn't stop and ask for directions. And I thought, this is crazy. And I read a book by a linguist who said the reason for this is because men don't want to put themselves in a one-down position relative to somebody else. It's that they don't want to put themselves into the subordinate, subservient role. And I thought, that's insane. So I met a guy who would stop and ask for directions, and I married him. I've been happily married ever since. But I thought about this for a while, and I thought, this being so preoccupied with the whole dominance game thing that you won't even stop for directions when you're lost, that's clearly off. That's clearly pushing things too far off in one direction. But I think that a lot of women are conversely, I mean, they'll stop and ask for directions, but a lot of times I think they don't realize when they're putting themselves in a one-down position socially when it could be disadvantageous to them.
Gotcha. Well, I guess for those who are listening, can you kind of break down what is narcissistic personality disorder?
Okay. Well, first of all, let me give you a very clear and workable definition of narcissism. Okay. Now, Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher whose works were very influential in the development of Christian theology, by the way, because he lived before the Gospels were written, and I think that the people who wrote the Gospels probably, because they could read Greek, I'm sure they were familiar with the works of Aristotle. So there were, there were things that were just so. A lot of times when people write a book, and I know this as an editor, they don't spell out the things that they think should be obvious to everybody. So sometimes you have to go back to some of this earlier literature and understand and read that before you read a later book, so you can understand more about what the later book was about.
Okay.
Well, Aristotle felt that self-esteem was, to put it in modern terms, a Goldilocks problem. The story of Goldilocks and the three bears. Goldilocks goes in, Mama Bear's bed is too soft, Mama Bear's porridge is too cold, Papa Bear's is too hot, and Baby Bear's is just right.
Right.
So the story of the three bears is a way of teaching children the idea that something can be too far one direction and too far the other direction, and ideally there's some things that should be somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Just right is neither too much this way or too much the other way.
Gotcha.
So self-esteem is one of those problems. And Aristotle said that your self-esteem could be, in the Nicomachean Ethics, he said your self-esteem could be too high or too low. So if you're a truly great person, and if you have a great destiny to fulfill, you will not fulfill this destiny unless you embrace your greatness. So if you are a truly gifted and talented person, and you do not accept that about yourself, then you will never achieve your potential. So he felt that if great people didn't embrace their greatness, they were cowards. Oh, wow. Yeah. So now in narcissism, if you read the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, which is basically a dictionary that says, what criteria they had to fulfill in order to meet the quality of the diagnostic criteria to get this diagnosis from a psychiatrist. And the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality are about grandiosity. In other words, a person has higher self-esteem than they should. So it's sort of like the delusions of grandeur that you get during some cases of mania. When somebody has bipolar disorder and they're going off the manic end, they think they have all sorts of powers that they don't have, and they have just this tremendous confidence, self-esteem, and all this kind of stuff, and boundless energy. They can sometimes get a lot done during a manic episode. But people with narcissistic personality disorder, for them it's not a mood problem. It's more or less they think that way about themselves all the time. And it's not just because they're in such an excited state from their moods being keyed up.
Gotcha.
So narcissists have they have higher self-esteem than they deserve. And this is a social judgment. A lot of people, they get angry at me for this and say, well, that's a social judgment. I said, damn straight it is. So now, let me give you a workable set of definitions for what mental illnesses are, so people can understand this. Now, a mental problem, just to put it in the simplest terms, can be a problem in any one of four areas. So either you've got some problem with your senses betraying you.
Right.
A visual hallucination means you're seeing something that's not really there. An auditory hallucination could be that you're hearing voices when nobody's really talking.
Right. And
you can also smell smells that aren't real. Or you can have like the sensation of bugs crawling on you. That's called fornication with an M, as opposed to fornication, which is with an N, which is completely different.
Right.
Yeah. So if you feel like bugs are crawling all over you when they're not. So these are your senses betraying you. So that's sensation. Now then, the second area where you can have a mental problem is in the area of cognition, which is the picture of the world that you're drawing from the sense data that you get. So if you say, for example, if you get floaters in your eyes, and those little dark marks that float around. So you say, if you see them, you say, oh, okay, I've got floaters. That's what it is, and you just, but as opposed to interpreting that they're evil bugs trying to get you. So cognition is how you think in terms of the ideas in your head. Okay. So if you've got sensation that can go wrong, you get cognition that can go wrong, and the classic way that cognition can go wrong is paranoia or other kinds of delusions, which are false beliefs. And a false belief is considered a delusion if it's not shared with your social group. So if everybody believes something because it's part of your culture or part of your religion, even if it's kind of a strange belief, the psychiatrist will not and should not say, well, that's a delusion. Right. That's your culture. Right. You learn that from other people. If you came up with it on your own, they'll think you're nuts. But if you got it from authority figures within your social group, then they think you're perfectly normal, which is appropriate. Okay. So then the third place you can go and have a mental problem is in the area of emotion. So your mood can be too high or too low. So depression is when your mood is stuck in a low thing. You can't feel pleasure, and you can't feel pleasure in things. You feel sadness when you shouldn't. And again, psychiatrists will say, is this appropriate for what's going on in the person's life? If you're really sad because a loved one just died, well, that's grief. They don't consider that to be depression. You can be depressed and have grief at the same time. Right. But the psychiatrist won't take you seriously if you just start complaining about it when you're in a grief situation. So that's sensation, cognition, emotion, and the fourth thing is action. So you can do things that really cause people to say, what's wrong with you? So if your behavior is off, then people can say, oh, well, that's a kind of mental problem if your behavior is consistently maladaptive and abnormal for what the psychiatrist would expect for you. So if you can have a problem in any of those three areas, any of those four areas, if your problem is in sensation and cognition and it's really bad, then you'll get a diagnosis of a psychosis. So that would include things like schizophrenia. If your problem is mainly your emotions, then you get a diagnosis of a mood disorder such as depression.
Yeah.
The personality disorders, in contrast, are the problems where the most obvious thing is the person's behavior.
Yeah.
Now, any person who has a mental illness is likely to have problems in all of those areas that I pointed out. But the people with the personality disorders, their problems with thinking and their problems with mood and so forth kind of take a backseat to, they have them, and it leads to their bad behavior. But it's not really obvious to the observer. It's just all of a sudden they do something and you say, oh my goodness, why did they do that?
Mm-hmm.
And they are really creepy that way. So they suddenly do something really callous or really horrible, and you look at the person and say, do I know you? I thought you were a sane person. And because they can wear what the expression is the mask of sanity. It's like they're wearing a mask of being sane.
Mm-hmm.
And then then you find out what they've been doing. Like Ted Bundy is the classic example of serial killer Ted Bundy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thought that he was just a great guy, and then it turns out he was doing these horrible things.
Right.
So it wasn't until you realized what he was capable of that you really started to realize how creepy he was. So anyway, narcissistic personality disorder is narcissism with higher self-esteem than you should have. It's taken to such a degree that it is causing problems for you in your life. It's a consistent pattern, and it's causing distress and disability. It's preventing you from achieving what you want to achieve. It's making you miserable. It's destroying your life. And it's different from what you'd expect from somebody from that social background.
Now, let me ask you, based on the title of your book, because I feel as though you're going somewhere with that title. Don't feed the narcissist. Is it something that we do sometimes to narcissists, or when we have people in our life that are narcissists that kind of feed what they're doing?
Exactly. Now, why is it that people become narcissists, and what can you do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, people become narcissists because they have very poor skills in terms of their intellectual skills and their social skills.
Okay.
In particular, they are very bad at perceiving or receiving corrective feedback from other people.
Okay.
So if a person is cool and that person does something that you don't like,
mm-hmm.
and you throw a little bit of shade in their direction,
mm-hmm.
they'll pick it up right away.
Gotcha.
So you don't have to escalate it to the point of saying, it makes me angry when you do such and such.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the person's really perceptive, if they're totally cool, then they're going to be so tuned into other people's feelings and so forth that they're not going to do something irritating to begin with. But narcissists are oblivious to that kind of feedback. And if it gets to the point where you actually have to tell them that they've done something wrong,
mm-hmm.
their self-esteem is so high because they've been missing all these corrective feedback, which is humbling, that they get very upset.
Mm.
How dare you? How dare you criticize me in any way? And then they throw a screaming tantrum. And the problem is basically that they're 3-year-olds walking around in an adult body.
Wow.
And that's really all it is. Because the personality disorders, there are 10 of them that are spelled out in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. They fall into 3 basic categories. The cluster A, or they're full clusters. Cluster A, the people have problems with how they interact with reality.
Mm-hmm.
So they either live in a dream world or they're kind of paranoid, but they don't really interpret reality very accurately.
Okay.
So those are the cluster A disorders. And then the cluster B are people who have problems with people. So they don't know how to react. They don't know how to react or to interact with other people as equals. And as a result, they create all sorts of drama. And that's the erratic, dramatic, the cluster. So there are 4 of them in this category. One of them is called histrionic, and histrionic comes from the word meaning actor.
Mm-hmm.
People with histrionic personality disorder love to be the center of attention. They don't mind if it's bad attention. They don't mind making themselves look like fools. They don't mind making themselves look like idiots, as long as all eyes are on them.
Wow.
And this can get really dark. I mean, most of the time they're just harmless. They just want attention. They become actors and whatnot. But once in a while, it gets really dark. And the dark form of it is called Munchausen by proxy. So that's when usually a mother will abuse her child, make her child sick, and then present the child for medical treatment, and then bask in the attention that she gets from the medical professionals. And there have been women who killed their children doing this.
Wow.
It's now called factitious disorder by proxy. It's no longer called Munchausen, but it's the same thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's, histrionic people, they just want attention for themselves, and they will do anything to get it. So that's histrionic. And then so they look upon other people as an audience.
Mm-hmm.
Now narcissists look upon other people as underlings.
Huh. Okay.
They want to be large and in charge. They want to be the person who calls the shots.
Uh-huh.
They want their demands to be met, and quite unreasonably. But again, they're like big toddlers. When toddlers expect that the world revolves around them.
Mm-hmm.
They expect to be given things for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
They don't expect to have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
They just expect love and attention and praise to be showered upon them just because they exist. And that's okay when you're a little. That's okay when you're, when you're two.
Right. Right.
But as we mature, we're supposed to outgrow that.
Yeah.
But they're still stuck in the thing where they can throw a tantrum and manipulate people through their tantrums. And that's what narcissistic rage is basically a tantrum. So the problem is, if you get stuck into a relationship with a person like this,
mm-hmm.
you can end up walking on eggs around them because of their tantrums. You don't want to trigger a tantrum. And as a result, you're reinforcing their narcissism. So you're making them worse by catering to them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like, one of the basic principles in dog training is you never reward a dog for bad behavior.
Right.
You never allow that dog to achieve its goals through behavior you do not like,
mm-hmm.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
But we do that all the time with narcissists, and it makes them worse. So now, people who've been through Al-Anon know this.
Right.
There's the principles of there's the 4 C's of Al-Anon, and I mentioned
mm-hmm.
this in the book. But you did not cause that person to be narcissistic.
Right.
You cannot control their narcissistic behavior.
Right.
And you cannot correct their narcissistic behavior.
mm-hmm.
You cannot correct their narcissism. You didn't cause it. You can't correct it. You can't control it.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't contribute to it either.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
a lot of times people end up reinforcing this narcissistic behavior. So this is all very familiar. I mean, it sounds like you're familiar with these concepts.
I am, to a point, especially when you talked about walking on eggshells. I have a book that was given to me a while back called Walking on Eggshells, and it's about how to deal with a narcissist in your home. And so that when you were talking, it's like my mind was going back to that whole to everything that was going on at that time. But real quick, we do have a question here from Jothany Blackwood. She says, why was she interested in exploring and writing about this particular personality disorder out of the range of disorders? Did she note an increase of it or a greater impact on relationships as a result of narcissism?
The reason I got interested in personality disorders in general
mm-hmm.
was because I had to look up something in the. I was working at the time for a company that was developing antidepressant drugs, and I had to look up something in the DSM.
Okay.
Now, back then, we looked up things in books that were printed on paper that we didn't just go to the internet,
Right.
and so forth. So I was paging through this book, and I stumbled upon the personality disorders. And one of them in particular was called obsessive compulsive personality disorder.
Yeah.
And I looked at the description of this personality disorder, and I said, oh my goodness, this is my job description.
Wow.
Because people with obsessive compulsive personality disorder they have this it's part of cluster C, which people are driven by fear. It's cluster C personalities. People have problems with fear and anxiety, and they try to control the fear and anxiety by trying to control everything, or by avoiding everything. So it's they have a fear problem. And people with obsessive compulsive personality disorder will get really picky about everything. They'll try to do everything perfectly so that nothing will go wrong. They will micromanage everything.
Yeah.
And they will drive people crazy. Now, that's not my personality at all. But it was my job description because as a copy editor and proofreader and so forth, it was my responsibility to make sure everything was very perfect. So then that's how I got interested in personality disorders, and I got interested in narcissism because of this strange thing I noticed about authors. The people who were at the top of the food chain in their respective disciplines were the people who were heads of departments at major universities and so forth. If they would write an article and I would fix the grammar and everything and do my job the way I'm supposed to, they'd be pleased. They would be delighted. They'd have no problem about it. It's the people who are at the very bottom rung of the academic food chain that would throw tantrums if I corrected the grammar.
Wow.
So I started to realize that narcissism had something to do with social rank, and that they felt that they were competing with me for social rank, which is absurd, because these are people who can cut open a human being with a knife legally.
Wow.
And prescribe opioids legally. All I can do is correct the grammar. So I would point out, look, you can do surgery and prescribe drugs and so forth. I correct grammar, and that's the way it should be. So when I realized that I respected them as professionals, but I still needed to correct their dangling and participles, then we got a fine. But I would see that, and I realized that there's this vulnerable narcissism thing is narcissists stuck in a low rank, and they feel as they're fighting for their. They want to play king of the hill. And I don't have time to pay for that.
So it's almost like they take everything that you say as criticism as like a challenge to who they are, a challenge to their to how smart they are or how skillful they are.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
And just being a smart and highly educated person around them triggers them left and right. So there are a lot of people I can't be around because just the fact that I'm an educated person, especially an educated female, they just don't like that. So there's some people I just kind of ghost for that reason.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people get into trouble with narcissism, and narcissists and people with borderline personality disorders is in romantic relationships. And when the book first came out, I was talking to people about it. A lot of women would say, "Oh, my ex or my daughter's ex must have been a narcissist," and they start telling me about this person's arrogant behavior. And now I don't know if that ex person, the ex-lover, ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, whatever. I can't tell if that person is a narcissist or not. All I know is that they had a bad relationship, and it's a good thing it came to an end. But it's really easy for men or for women to fall into. It's hetero women. It's really easy for them to get involved with narcissists, and conversely, it's very easy for straight men to get involved in relationships with women with borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
And the reason is that narcissism involves such self-confidence.
Mm.
And normal people would think, well, gee, I wouldn't project that air of confidence unless I was really all that in a bag of chips. So when you first meet this narcissist, because they're so confident that it's easy to get fooled by them. And remember, these are people who spend all their energy in trying to make people think they're wonderful.
Yeah.
So they get really good at making people think they're wonderful at first. And then as the relationship goes on for a while, you realize that the idol you were worshiping has feet of clay, to use a biblical image.
Right.
So then the relationship starts to go sour from there, and then it can get really bad. Now, conversely, a lot of men get involved with women with borderline personality disorder, because one of the things that women with borderline personality disorder often do is sleep with strangers at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So they'll meet this woman who is just wild about sex, and they think, oh, this is great. We're so compatible in this way. This is going to be a great relationship. But the problem is that this woman is having sex for non-sexual reasons.
Okay.
I mean, she's having it to try to fill this emptiness in her soul, and it's not going to work.
Right.
So, I mean, she'll sleep with you on the first date, but she'll sleep with a lot of people on the first date, and then don't be surprised if she cheats on you.
Yeah.
So this is how. I mean, I've heard that story over and over and over again from men who's like, oh, I had a girlfriend that borderline. So the women complain about narcissists. The men complain about borderline. It's a little bit more subtle than that within the gay community, I'm sure. Just because the gender roles are so different.
Right. Wow. Okay. So let me ask you this: is it difficult then to convince a narcissist that they may need some help?
It is impossible to convince a narcissist that they need some help.
Wow.
Absolutely impossible, because nothing you say carries any weight.
Okay.
And if you try to get the narcissist involved, I mean, if somebody's like a really hardcore, irredeemable straight-up narcissist, you can't persuade them. But narcissism it can be a matter of degree.
Okay, gotcha.
So the thing that normally, if you're dealing with somebody who's really a narcissist, I mean, I hope it's not in a romantic relationship, because that could be heartbreaking.
Right.
But if you're dealing with one in a work situation, find another job. If you've got a narcissistic boss, it can be devastating, because they're bullies.
Yeah.
I would much rather work for a sociopath than for a narcissist.
Wow.
Because a sociopath would work you like a rented mule and then take credit for everything you do. Right?
Right.
But that's what you expect from a business relationship, is it not?
Pretty much, yeah. Especially in the corporate world.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what you expect. Narcissists, on the other hand, will make it impossible for you to do your job if you outshine them in any way. Because they're so jealous.
Gotcha.
Because there's jealousy of they want to be mirror on the wall, who's the smartest one of all, or who's the most capable, or whatever. If you do anything that, even if you do good performance under their management, which they should take pride in, they'll have problems with that and make your life a living heck.
Gotcha.
So yeah, you want to avoid that kind of person as a boss.
Gotcha.
Now, how you can curb your own narcissistic tendencies. One thing is to get some training in how to read facial expressions. Because there are 7 basic facial expressions that all human beings make in response to the same kind of emotion. Okay. And they can make those expressions in just a fraction of a second. It's called a micro expression. So it's really learn to read people's facial expressions and pay attention to what people are telling you through their face. And then I strongly recommend that people watch the BBC version of The Office with Ricky Gervais.
Mm-hmm.
He is a benign narcissist. I mean, he's narcissistic and irritating, but he's not mean.
Gotcha.
He's pretty much the nicest narcissist you'd ever meet. But watch what he does. Don't do anything like he does.
Mm-hmm.
And more to the point, watch the people around him. Watch the kind of reactions that they're giving. They're throwing shade at him,
mm-hmm.
left and right, and he's missing it all because he's that oblivious. So if you watch the Office or cringe comedy in general, you learn what not to do in a social situation, and you learn how to, by watching the straight characters. I mean, the straight men, the people who react to the antics of the other person.
Right.
You watch the other characters. Watch how they cringe, or what they say or don't say, or whatever. Watch that and,
mm-hmm.
and learn to recognize that, so that when somebody's giving you those kind of corrective, you want to be able to pick up on that kind of corrective message very quickly, so that you can correct yourself. That's how you build your social skills.
So would it be safe then to say that to kind of help you to not become or not to continue to be a narcissist, you kind of have to learn some empathy, right?
Well, one way to do it, or one of the problems with the empathy problem.
Okay.
So narcissists and sociopaths lack empathy, but they lack it for different reasons.
Okay.
Sociopaths are so flat emotionally. They make good soldiers and firemen and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So they just don't react too much. It takes a lot to get them upset. They're fearless. They're brave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always a bad thing.
Right.
It can be very useful. So these are people who, they will run into a burning building to save somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of low emotional arousal can be directed in socially appropriate ways.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means that it takes a heck of a lot for them to get a kick out of anything.
Gotcha.
So they can end up in seeking excitement so much that it destroys their life.
Mm-hmm.
So sociopaths, they don't really have self-pity. They don't really suffer the same way ordinary people do under certain kind of situations. So they can't share that feeling. They can't share feelings you've never had.
Right.
So they don't really have the kind of attachments to other people that normal people do.
Mm.
So they lack empathy just because they're not capable of it.
Okay.
Whereas a narcissist is, because they think they're high up on the social scale. They don't have sympathy, or they don't have empathy for the people beneath them.
Okay. Gotcha.
And that's why like slave owners could do terrible things to their slaves they wouldn't dream of doing, to other white people, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's because of this lack of empathy toward people that they perceive as beneath them on a social scale.
Wow.
So narcissists are this way, and that's why, I mean, you scratch a narcissist, you'll find a racist usually. Because misogyny, if a man looks down on women, we call him a misogynist.
Right.
If a white person looks down on people of color, we say that they're a racist.
Right.
When a white man looks down on other white men, then we call him a narcissist. But I mean,
it's still the same.
I mean, if you find some white man who's dissing other white men, you can imagine how he treats black people, and you can imagine how he treats women.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha. Whew. Well, I tell you what, we have gotten a lot of good information. Ronald Price said in here, he said, "Oh, I'm loving this. Great stuff." I want to thank everybody for just joining us. Let me do a little roll call here. Gail Cato, thank you for joining in. My wife, Connie McDonald, even though she's sitting next to me, she's also listening as well. Pastor Derek Moore, God bless you. Thank you so much. Michael Corder, good to see you, man. Thank you for joining us. Crystal Gilmer, Brett Evers, Thank y'all so much. Shamir Claybrooks, good to see you. We've gotten a lot of good information. Here's what I want us to do before we wrap up, though. I want to ask if you can let everybody know how they can get more information on you and your books, because this is not the only book that you've written. So let everybody know how to get some more information on you.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a website. Well, I have several websites, but one of them is www.nottrivialbook.com, because my first book was called Not Trivial.
Okay.
And it's got links to all my other stuff there.
Nottrivialbook.com.
Yeah. And I have one more thing about how to overcome your own narcissism. It's a meditation.
Okay.
You say, you get a piece of paper, and you say, and you write down, I'm glad that, and then you fill in the blank, somebody is better than I am at something or other because something. Mm. And you just fill up page after page with being grateful that somebody that knows more than you do about something for some reason. Like, I'm glad that so-and-so knows more than I do about car repair because whatever reason.
Right.
You know, and you just do this, and you fill up a page like that. Mm. And it helps you understand your place in society. And it helps you appreciate and be grateful for other people.
Amen.
And then when you tell the people involved what you said about them in your notebook, sometimes they cry. But it's happy crying.
Yeah. Wow. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. We may have to try to have you on for another show, because I know there's some other things that you can talk about besides just being a narcissist. So we will have to try to invite you back.
Oh, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. All right. You have a great evening.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Shamir says thanks for open dialogue. Hey, you know, that's what I try to do, because I think it's important for us to have people on who have a background in what we're going to talk about, that can probably give us more of an insight than I could, because I can do my research, I can study, I could read all day. But when we talk to somebody that has actually been there, done that, bought the T-shirt, it helps us to gain an understanding. And that's what Christians for Mental Healing is all about. It is for us to learn what mental health is, learn what it means, learn all of the different aspects of it, and how even to overcome it if it becomes a problem. Now, not all mental health is mental illness, but of course mental illness is one of the things that we will be talking about a lot on these Monday nights. But we will be talking about some other things. And also, listen, if you have some ideas or some questions, some ideas for what we can talk about, some questions, hit me up in my instant messenger, or you could also send me an email on ksmbc1417@gmail.com. That's ksmbc1417@gmail.com. Also, I might as well go ahead and do the shameless plug. If you do not have a church home and you'd like to come and visit us at the King Solomon Missionary Baptist Church, we're at 1417 10th Avenue North in Nashville, Tennessee, 37208 area. Come on by and see us. We have services every Sunday at 11 a.m. You are more than welcome to come on by. We are the friendly church at the end of your search. So we're going to go ahead and end it right there. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I will see you guys on next Monday. Next Monday, we will be back again, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock. We will be back on 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. So tune in, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to either ask to be on camera or to put your questions in the comment section. So God bless you. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I hope you guys have a wonderful work week, as short as it is. But I hope you have a great night. God bless you. Bye.